Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Kurt Leavins. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, Dave. I wouldn't be surprised if you heard me shout that overtime winner all the way from BC to Edmonton. That was a hoot and holler.
That was a great moment. And man, Florida Panther fans were upset. I was following them on Twitter, and they couldn't complain about the penalty because it was a penalty.
Yeah.
But man, that's a bitter way to lose a hockey game.
It is.
Because you just feel it coming, right? With the power play.
Yeah.
You feel it.
And you know what, David? I hate that rule too, but it's the same for everybody. And while that was a poorly officiated game, that call they got right. It was a no-brainer. So
I know a lot of fans, Oiler fans, were irate during the game about the refs. I wasn't feeling it. Maybe I missed some stuff, but I thought it was not that bad.
I should be more precise with my comments. I thought the two referees were fine. I thought the normally excellent NHL linesmen were poor tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
On some of the icing calls and stuff like
that. The face-offs. And, there was one linesman, I don't mean to pick on him, but it was his first Stanley Cup final. And maybe nerves got to him because he was not good. And it didn't cost anybody the game. But normally I don't pick on linesmen because I think NHL linesmen are really good at their jobs. Tonight was not their finest moment.
Indeed. Kurt, two good things, two bad things, and two numbers. And because this was obviously, doesn't get much huger. Game one, a win in game one, really sets you up for the playoff series. We'll go two good things each. It's the least we can do.
And you should go first, David. Given the way this game ended tonight.
We already talked about the power play goal, and it's my first good thing. And the overtime goal in any, if you're going to look at good things, it's got to always be the top good thing because it is. It's what decides the game. And there might be some odd exception to that. But Kurt, what a goal. What a goal. And the Oilers' power play has been good in the playoffs. Maybe even great. Like it's above 30%, isn't it? I think it's been great.
Yep.
So it's been great. Better than it was in the regular season. It kind of ticked along, but tonight that goal was pure Oilers power play experience and efficiency. The Florida Panthers experienced it. And as Craig McTavish says, experience is what you get 5 seconds after you need it. But because that was, which is I think just one of my favorite that all-time comments. I don't know where he heard that. If McTee came up with that on his own, that is brilliant.
It's a great quote.
It really is. I'll have to Google it because maybe he came up with it. But the Panthers are super aggressive on the kill, and it was working, right? It was working all night long. But they're getting tired. They were getting tired. And McDavid rushes the puck in. And the first great decision is not to force things, not to try to take it to the net. Back it off. And then there's a series of kind of almost rote passes by two players, Bush and Nuge. But they're brilliant passes. Mm-hmm. They're the kind of passes the Oilers make. Now, I can't remember if it first went to Nuge and then back to Bush at the point, or if McDavid put it back to Bush directly. Do you recall?
Bouchard then to Nuge.
Yeah, on the play. But before that, when McDavid came in, did he pass it straight to Bush?
I'm not sure on
that's what I'm wondering.
On that precise
so
point.
Bush gets it, and I think it actually might have gone to Nuge, and he might have done his back off the boards thing to Bush, but I'm not sure that. Anyway, it really starts with Bouchard with the puck on a stick, and he just makes the simple play, just like McDavid made the simple play. Don't force things. Don't try to do too much. Passes it to Nugent Hopkins, who is already he's already. I saw him scan down the ice. He saw Perry heading for the boards. He knew Perry was there, so he gets the puck, he controls the puck, and he put it. No look pass off the boards, down the boards to Corey Perry, who he knew was going to be there. And then Perry, he knows McDavid's there. So he does the same thing. No look backhand pass to McDavid. They knew They knew, these players all knew where everybody was going to be. And Florida should have known, but it's just so hard. Like, they're aggressively trying to get on these guys, and they were just a tick behind each time, just a microsecond behind each time. Perry puts in McDavid, who makes a brilliant pass to Draisaitl, who scores on the executioner shot. Bam. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the third time he's hit the net with his one-timer in the playoff, and he scored all 3 times.
I was thinking of you.
Yeah, he has struggled all playoff long, and tonight he tried one and he didn't get it on net. He's been struggling to get that great shot on net, but when he has, he's 100%. Yeah. So I'll take that. He usually shoots those in at about 35% over the years of those one-timer shots go in for Draisaitl, which is a massive for an outside shot. That is an amazing shooting percentage. But this playoffs, he's been 100%. He hasn't, so they can figure out a way to get more of them. And you can see the opposition. They do everything they can to take away. But this time, their aggression got the best of them. And the Oilers punished them for being too aggressive in the best possible way.
A few comments on...
Go ahead, Kurt.
A few comments on that play. I thought when the Oilers were down 3-2 in the third period, I liked how they were playing because they didn't look like they were panicking then. You know what? They've been in this position before. They weren't forcing things. And that play continued on into the overtime. And there was 2 subtleties on those plays that led up to the Draisaitl overtime winner that I want to point out. The Nugent-Hopkins play on the wall before he goes down low to Perry. That's a tough play because his check's right on him. Yeah. But Nugent-Hopkins has the presence of mind to not try and put the puck in the middle where it could get intercepted and someone could take off on a breakaway. He's smart enough to go low with that play. So beats his check, who's right on his tail, and bops it down low to Perry. It's a subtle little play, but it's a super smart veteran play. And then Perry, same thing. Instead of just throwing it out in the middle, where again he understands it could be intercepted, he keeps it along the boards and he moves it deep. Yes, he knows McDavid is down there, but he also knows it's the safe place to put the puck, right? So not only are they smart offensive plays, but they're cloaked in really smart defense, not putting the puck into danger areas where Florida could get a break the other way. And then, of course, McDavid beating the 2 Florida players with the pass, and then Leon shot from the slot were kind of the cookies at the end of dinner. But those subtle, smart little veteran plays by Nugent-Hopkins and Perry, I was just a huge fan of.
Indeed. Kurt, what is your good thing?
My good thing is Stuart Skinner. You know what? Lest we forget, this is a guy that has faced the wrath of many Oilers fans, and at times me, all season, and at one point lost the crease in these playoffs, and all Calvin Pickard did in his absence was go 6-0. But he has come back and he has meant business. I didn't fault him on any of the 3 goals against tonight, but the reason I picked him is the second period. Because in the second period, Florida had most of the play, and the shots favored them 17-8. We left that period 3-1 Florida. It easily could have been 5-1 Florida, David, and this game would have been over. And there would have been no Ekholm tying goal, no overtime winner, no joy in Mudville. If Stuart Skinner doesn't slam the door in that second period, I believe we have a very different outcome tonight. The fact that this guy has come all the way back, has handled the stress, has reclaimed his crease, and then played that big of a role in the Stanley Cup Finals Game 1, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, the score in that second period was 1-1. But the grade A shots in that second period were 5-2 for Florida, 5-2. So a significant edge.
Yep.
And they did score on their one 5-alarm chance. They didn't have another 5-alarm chance. The Oilers were doing a fairly good job of keeping them to the outside, but there was a number of really dangerous chances. And then right early in the third period, they had another where Listerinen, I think, broke down the middle of the ice and got a backhand shot on a breakaway, semi-breakaway. So no, Skinner, he looked good, Kurt.
Yes.
He's looking. It's funny how it's kind of seems like a trite thing to say. He looks good, but we all know if you've watched hockey for decades, NHL hockey, lots of it, and made a study of it, which both of us have. You start to see goalies when they're good. They look good. They move well. Bobrovsky looked pretty damn good too tonight.
Oh yeah,
and was in the end, the grade A shots were 19-12 for the Oilers in the end, with the subset of 5 alarm shots, 11-5 for the Oilers. So in the end, the Oilers were the dominant team, and if Florida had won, Bobrovsky would have done it again. He would have stolen another game. So both goalies looked really good, and they were good. They're just Skinner. When he looks bad, he's moving so. What is it? He when the puck's coming from behind the net, I'm really worried when he's not good, because he just seems uncertain of what to do.
Yeah,
and
side to side, right?
And side to side, and I think the Oilers did again a pretty good job of limiting the side to side chances.
When he keeps the play in front of him, he's a good goaltender.
Yeah, when he squares up to it.
Yeah.
So maybe he looks good when the Oilers play decent defense, and this was a decent defensive hockey game. But there were lots of dangerous moments and really iffy moments, and he was zeroed right in and right on them and made the right play every single time. He was good with the puck. He was sharp with the puck. He was sharp on rebounds. He was sharp stopping the play when he needed to. Mm-hmm. Everything about his game, there was just very few mistakes all game long in how he was playing.
Yeah. Not much flashy, but I'd argue that glove save on Rodriguez in overtime was probably his flashiest save, if you will.
Yeah. Just trying to think of that play. I have Ekholm turning over the puck and Draisaitl losing a battle. I can't remember the shot itself.
Yeah, it was a wrist shot that he got his glove on. It was labeled. It was going in. So.
Oh, I think I remember it now. It was kind of coming off that side wall.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, that was a really good shot. I agree. Yeah. The play and then came off the wall into the middle of the ice.
And it wasn't a tough shot, but even corralling that puck right on the doorstep with Reinhart in front of him on the first shift of overtime, that puck was bouncing. That was dangerous. And to your point, he did a pretty good job of handling rebounds all night long, including getting a handle on that one.
So I'm going to single out 3 defensemen who I thought just really who stood out. 2 in particular, Evan Bouchard and Jake Wallman, and also Matthias Ekholm, who's coming back from injury. The first goal, Wallman just makes a really nice play. He gets an outside shot on. They talked about it in hockey on the broadcast. Just made sure to nice clean stroke. Make sure you get it high on net on Bob. Bob's not good upstairs necessarily with his hands corralling all the rebounds. And the rebound goes first to Kapanen, who puts it on net, and then to Draisaitl, who puts it in on a scramble play. Bob has been scored more on scramble plays than any other kind of play by far in the playoffs. If you're going to beat him, the scramble play is your best bet. And that's exactly what it was. And it's all kicked off by Wallman and Bouchard. I read a funny comment. Wallman was wincing all game long and blocking all kinds of shots. And someone said, Wallman's body is, he's got one bruise, but it covers 70% of his body. He was hurt, and I hope he's okay, because he was really banged up.
Yep.
The second goal, Arvidsson's goal, is kicked off by a nice stretch pass from Evan Bouchard to send in Podkolzin, who makes a brilliant screen. Mm-hmm. So there's another play involving the defenseman. The third goal, the Ekholm goal, it's finished off by Ekholm, who does that great thing, charging into the slot. And Bieksa says he thought he was passing to Kane. I'm pretty sure I saw McDavid's eyes on, and he lofts the puck through the air to Ekholm. He's looking for Ekholm. He's not looking for the guy who's covered.
They asked Ekholm after the game, and Ekholm said, he said, "I'm not going to doubt the eyes of my captain."
He's looking right at him. Bieksa just got that wrong, dead wrong. And he's a pretty smart guy, Kevin Bieksa, but he got that wrong. Bouchard was involved in that play too with a nice pass. Mm-hmm. So it's they didn't give much up on defense. All three of those defensemen made two major mistakes on grade A shots against, which isn't like great. It's okay in a game. But their offensive play, Bouchard was in on 4 grade A shots. Wallman was in on 4 grade A shots, and Ekholm was in on the goal. These guys were really moving the puck well. Not everybody was. It was a bit more of a struggle this game against Florida, way more of a struggle, which Florida's aggression is impressive. It's outstanding. I applaud that team for the way they forecheck.
They're a great
Unlike
club.
anything the Oilers have faced before. Maybe it felt like LA, like the first couple games against LA when the Oilers were on the back heel. But this team came at the Oilers with incredible intensity and coordination, I think is the word I'm looking for. And not all the Oilers weren't like, the Oilers just sieved Dallas and they sieved Vegas with passing. They just cut through the forecheck of those two teams. They were not that able to do that tonight. It was more of a standoff, sometimes Florida won the forecheck, and sometimes the Oilers defenseman won the forecheck by passing it through it on the counterattack. And it was usually Wallman and Bouchard, sometimes Klingberg. But Klingberg had again kind of a up and down night on defense.
I agree.
So that trade for Wallman, Kurt. I heard on Bob Stauffer's show, Bob was interviewing Stan Bowman, and he said from the start of the year, he talked to Bowman. He said, from the start of the year, Stan, you're telling me we don't need a big cycle buster defenseman. We need a puck mover. So Bowman was saying that in the fall, and other people were saying it too. He wasn't the only one, but he was right. I think he was dead right. And Wallman has been an outstanding addition to the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, a few comments on those 3 D-men with Ekholm. First thing I want to point out with Ekholm is, remember, this is his second full game in like 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And he played 25-19. That's real athleticism when you can do that.
Is that what he played? I was wondering because he looked bushed.
Yeah, that's
wow.
Like that's outstanding, right? So that's on Ekholm. On Bouchard, he just continues to show how elite of a player he is. When you can have a performance like that against either the first or second best team in the league in Florida, well, then you can defend against anybody, right? So
guess how much he played.
What's that?
Guess how much he played. Do you have that?
I should have it somewhere. Bouchard played 31-51. Yeah. Yeah. And kind of like he was doing it in a rocking chair too, right? Let's I want to spend a second on Wallman though, because you know what, when they got him, I think we all felt, okay, decent, maybe third pairing puck moving defenseman. I had no clue he would be this good of a defender. He is willing to put his body on the line, and that's the one thing. His skating just impresses the hell out of me. He's got such great edges. He can skate that puck out of trouble, man, like it's nobody's business. Like, what an acquisition. This guy's playing like a second pair D-man. In fact, you may have noticed at one point in the game, because I think they were trying to give Ekholm a bit of a break, on 2 separate shifts, Wallman played with Bouchard instead of Ekholm.
You know what's interesting, Kurt? I'm just looking at their even strength time on ice, and there was 4 defensemen who all played around 23 minutes. Ekholm, Klingberg, Kulak, and Nurse. They're all right between 23 and 24. So they kind of have 2 pairings, and then Wallman played a little less, 21-47. I think. Let me just see if I have that right. 21-53 for Wallman, and I think he was injured a little bit and maybe missed a shift or 2. And then Bouchard played 25-05, more than the others.
And Wallman doesn't play the power play, so.
No, this is just even, though. I'm talking even strength.
Yeah.
This is even time. Yeah. So, no, they really have 6D they trust at even strength, which is good. And some are more trustworthy than others. And but tonight, they all, generally speaking, that's pretty good. Florida is a really strong attacking team. To limit them to 12 grade A shots is a successful night for the defense and for the team.
Oh, yeah. Only allowed 2 shots in the third period. So against Dallas and Florida, in the last 4 third periods, they've allowed 14 shots.
4-4-4-2. It's like a soccer formation.
That's It's almost as if this team can defend, Dave.
It is.
Right?
It is. Well, that's why they have a really good shot at winning the cup this year.
It is.
Okay, so we are on to your second good thing, Kurt.
Yeah, my second good thing, you might remember in the podcast we did previewing this series, I thought that Evander Kane would be a difference maker in this series, and he was a difference maker in game one. I thought this guy would be a freight train, and he absolutely was. He led the Oilers in hits with 9. He had 5 in regulation, added 4 more in the extra frame. He was really physical. But also, while he didn't register a point, he played a key role in 2 goals with net front presence and going hard to the net, respectively. I think going in, everybody was talking about how physical and mean Florida can play, and they are, and they can. That's 100% true. But I remember thinking in the back of my head, I don't think there's anybody that Evander Kane will back down from. And I noted one reporter asked Kane before the series, are you a little bit worried about Florida's physical play? And Kane kind of looked at him as if he had a hole in his head. Like, he said, do you know who you're saying this to? Now, in fairness, Evander Kane was a shadow of his former self against Florida in the finals last year. And that's not a shot against Kane. He was just physically unable to answer the bell. And the fact that he had double abdominal surgery in the offseason and missed the entire regular season speaks to that. Imagine what might have been last year, David, if this was the Evander Kane in the Stanley Cup finals last year, because he was highly impactful in game.
And this was with Draisaitl too. Like, they
right?
were both banged.
Yeah, think about that. Kane with his game and Draisaitl I scored Draisaitl a 9 tonight. He scored the 2 goals, including the overtime winner. And those guys, one of them couldn't play in game 7. The other one could barely move his arms. So it's kind of, it's what a turnaround.
Oh, just to correct my information on Draisaitl, he actually had 2 one-timers on net this game. And so he's had 4 in the playoffs and scored on 3. So I was...
there you go. Still a good percentage. Good batting average.
Yeah. All righty.
Your second.
We're on to the bad things.
Did you give your second good thing?
I did, because I went first, right?
Oh, that's right. You're so sharp.
On the bad things... You go first, though, because yours in chronological order, yours comes first.
Yeah, that does make sense. Well, I want to talk about the coach's challenge. And that may seem a little harsh, but I got to tell you, I had written into my game grades column, I wonder if Chris Knobloch is second guessing that coach's challenge, because if the Oilers had lost in overtime, that would have been a huge damn play. We talk about the mistake that the coach of the LA Kings made back in game 3 of the LA series with his coach's challenge. Well, this one had the potential to be a series changing one as well, because it was 1-0 Oilers and they were the better team in the first part of the first period. But then that goal goes in, and I still think it was goaltender interference. I think that was a pretty 50-50 call by the officials. Yeah, he tripped over Kulak's skate, and then amazing how he fell into Stuart Skinner. Like, it was just like Corey Perry accidentally falls into goaltenders, but what I'll say is, if the Oilers video review guys didn't pick up the fact that Bennett tripped over Kulak's skate, they should have, right? That should have been information Chris Knobloch should have had. Knobloch knows his PK is only operating at about 60%. The PK of the Oilers last year is long gone. This PK has struggled. So you had the game under control, 1-0. The game gets tied 1-1 on a questionable goal. Yeah, but at that point, do you really trust your PK enough to not go down 2-1 essentially on the same play? Ultimately, I think I was Chris Knobloch. I would not have called that coach's challenge. I think it was too dangerous of a call. I just would have chalked it up to, okay, it's 1-1. We're starting off even again.
Here's my guess. So, Kurt, are you saying it was the right call to call off the goal? Would you have called off that goal if you had been the NHL official?
I think it's a crappy call, but by the rule of law, I think it was correct.
Okay, so you would have called that.
If I was
Okay,
the official, I would have called
and
it
you
back.
wouldn't have called the coach's challenge. So here's what I think. I think that there's a similarity between both the LA call and the Oilers call, both mistakes by the coaches,
Mhm.
and it's what you don't see that gets you. And I can't remember what it was on the LA thing on the Kane goal, but this one's so I'll just speak to this one. But there was something similar on the LA thing where it wasn't immediately obvious what the problem was. But this one, most people watching it online and reacting to it initially were all thinking, that shouldn't be a goal. Bennett fell on him. He was tied up with Wallman, and most people missed the little tangling of the feet between Kulak, and I missed it. Most people missed that between him and Bennett. When you see that, you see, oh yeah, he lost his footing, and then he did what Zach Hyman would do in that exact same situation. I don't blame Bennett, the smart hockey player. His momentum's going that way. Of course, he's going to fall on the goalie. It's brilliant. This is a brilliant play by Sam Bennett, and not even particularly violent because I mean he just fell on him.
Yeah.
He didn't ram him.
No,
So
I agree. There's no attempt to injure or anything there. No.
I'm pretty sure, and I don't know this for sure. I suspect they were just looking at Wallman so much because they thought, well, Wallman's on Bennett, and Wallman didn't push him in; he just fell in, and they're so focused on Wallman that I'm guessing they missed Kulak, just like the LA coaches missed something there that wasn't obvious. Because when you have all the facts and all of the video replays and all the angles and a little bit more time to look at it, even 5 more minutes, you realize the NHL got that completely right, and the Oilers should never have called that. But in the heat of the moment, I think sometimes you get so obsessed with that thing that you think you've seen the play and you have misunderstood it, and that happens.
So I agree with you, but you've got eyes in the sky that you're paying to get that right.
That's true. A lot of
right.
Fair amount. Yeah, everyone screws up. And what's surprising is the Oilers guys hardly ever screw up.
They have a great record. And who knows? Maybe they spotted it and Knobloch decided to go for it. But that I doubt that.
No.
I doubt he's going to go against the advice of his video guys, right?
He can't because he doesn't have all the information.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know. He can't go by what he saw. So he's totally going with them. And I think they're pretty sure, hey, Wallman didn't do anything to that guy. He just fell into our goalie. That shouldn't count.
In fact, Bennett interfered with Wallman and hooked Wallman and prevented him from going into the corner to play the puck. That should have been a call and wasn't.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly could have been a call.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what happened in it. And if it happened, man, you don't want that to happen again. And that's a bitterly painful learning moment for the video coach, I think.
Yeah. Well, it did turn the momentum, and it could have cost them the game. They came back and won in overtime, and so we're laughing about it now. But it wouldn't have been so funny if that 3-1 lead had have stretched to 4-1.
You know, the play that incensed me, honestly, wasn't that goal and that call. I just think mistakes happen. I really hated the Oilers' the power play goal by Florida. And I don't know if you saw it the same way I did, Kurt, but so Nuge gets the puck and he does this. I think the smart play, as hard as he can, he tries to ice it down the ice. And he hits that backhand hard, but it gets stopped at the blue line. So that's a really tough play. Would have been maybe if Nuge could do it again, obviously he'd take a second because I think he had a second. But it's just a bang, bang play. And you're just thinking, get this thing out of here, hit it as hard as I can. Anyway, so that's the first mistake. Then the second mistake is they do that thing where they kind of loop at the player at the point. They don't go right at him. One guy collapses, and Henrik was too deep. And it turns out Henrik was too deep and Nuge was too high to block the seam pass, a wide open seam pass. Kurt, the average beer league hockey player with a passing lane that wide open could make that pass. It was wide open, and it was wide open for a second or two, which in the NHL is forever. People were giving Schmidt all this credit for making that pass. No, it wasn't Schmidt. He was wide open because Darnell Nurse in front of the net got drawn over. There was a player in front of the net. He was already covered. It wasn't Nurse's man. Nurse had to go cover Marchand. He had to make the right read. He totally blew it and left Marchand wide open for a goal. It was a terrible defensive mistake by Darnell Nurse more than anybody else, because even the seam pass was bad enough to leave it that wide open, but he wouldn't have been wide open if Nurse had been on him like he should have been. And I don't know why he wasn't covering Marchand. It's just a matter of having the presence of mind to look around, and a veteran defenseman should do that. I was really mad, hurt in that moment.
You know, every so often we have debates on this podcast where we go at it pretty good. This won't be one of those times, because when you read my game grades, you'll see that I docked Henrique a full mark for not fronting his man properly on that PK. Not only did he not intercept the pass from going through, you can't always do that, but he was too deep on the play. He needs to be higher on his man. And then Darnell Nurse just went for a walk in the park. Like, what are you doing skating over there? Like, Evan Bouchard's got his man. There's no need for you to go over there and try and front the puck. Stay with your man in front. And it was, it's just cut and dried. I couldn't agree with your assessment more.
I call that wandering in the red light zone, where you're not covering anybody. You're not covering a shooting lane, and you're not covering a passing lane. When you're doing that, you know you are in the red light zone and bad things are about to happen.
Yeah.
And anyway, I thought Darnell had a tough game. That was the worst moment, though. We talked about the two shots in the third period. Both of them were great. They had two grade A shots in the third, Florida. That's all they had. Was two shots. Both of them were grade A, and both of them, Kurt, came because of bad line changes. One of them from Darnell, and one of them from John Klingberg. Klingberg was admiring his pass and didn't get off the ice.
Yes.
And Nurse, instead of just dumping the puck in and getting off, he dumped it in and chased it. And then he came the length of the ice to get off. And by then, it was too late. It was a 2-on-1. And he caused it by not making the simple play, by, he probably thought it was a smart thing to do to put some pressure on the puck, but no, dump the puck in, and then, as soon as you get to the blue line, and then get off, and then it's a safe change anyway.
Yeah, I graded both Nurse and Klingberg 5s. Kulak was graded a 6, and Ekholm, Wallman, and Bouchard were graded out 7s tonight. So
I would have given Darnell a 3. Sorry to say.
Okay. I think it's well established that while I tend to be stingy on the upper end of game grades, you tend to go for it on the low end.
Low end and high end.
Yeah,
I like a little variation.
We're like the two guys from the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Waldorf and Astoria.
Alrighty. We are now on to our numbers. What is your numero, Kurt?
My numero is 60. 60. There are only 2 NHL players who have scored 60 goals in a season 3 times since 2005. 60 goals in a season, so regular season and playoffs, 3 times since 2005. They are Leon Draisaitl, who scored 60 and 61 of his season tonight, and Alex Ovechkin. They're the only 2. Pretty good company.
That is pretty good company. Did Ovi do those? I guess, did he, were they did he twice do it in the regular season and not have to score a playoff goal?
Yes. Two were in the regular season, and 1 he needed the playoffs to get over the top.
Combo.
So, yeah.
And Leon's never had 60, has he? McDavid did, but Leon's never had 60 in the regular season.
He's never had 60. Yeah, he's 4-time 50.
Yeah,
so
he's done the combo. I like the combo, That's a good combo. My number, and Leon got the first and the last goal. Great, fantastic game, and I would have given him probably a 9 as well. It wasn't he had a few bumps in his game as well, but man, he came through.
Yeah, a couple great back checks as well.
And in the past, Kurt, I've been crabby when they put Draisaitl and McDavid together, but this year I haven't been, and it's because the rest of the team is so. Nugent's picked it up, honestly, as a center in the last half of the year.
Yep.
And that's made a huge difference Because when I see Nuge with Kapanen, who almost scored an OT with that great rush,
Mhm.
that would have been great. Kapanen and Kane and Nuge, I think, that's a good line. Like, I'm not mad that they've resorted to that, because they can score, they can make plays, and that was a dangerous line in overtime.
Yeah.
And so then and then you have McDavid and Draisaitl together to make a great play. So there's that. All right, my number. After the second period, the Oilers were behind 3-2. They'd come back from 3-1 on Arvidsson's swell shot and Podkolzin's great screen of the goalie. And NHL Public Relations put out a post on the X platform, probably on all their platforms, where they said the following: the Florida Panthers are 31-0, 31-0 when holding a lead at the end of the first or second period in Stanley Cup playoff games under head coach Paul Maurice. But the Edmonton Oilers have their sights on the first multi-goal comeback win in Game 1 of the final since the Bruins in 2019. So it's the first part of that I want to focus on, is that 31-0 when holding a lead at the end of the first or second period. So even if they have it at the end of the first, they hold on.
That's astounding.
I couldn't really believe it. And I was thinking, but I was also thinking, you jinxed them. Thank you. Everyone was talking about it. And I thought, okay, if there's one team that can come back, because you and I, we've seen it again and again and again. And all you needed was the one. All you needed was that Arvidsson goal. And I was so thankful it came quickly. All you needed was that. And then it's like, oh, they can get a goal. The Oilers can get a goal. They always get a goal. So they jinxed them. And that's got to listen, the Panthers aren't shaken. When they played their game, they were really good.
Yep.
Bobrovsky was really good. They're a really good team. They're a bunch of tough, aggressive athletes. They are not shaken. But to have that, to know in the back of your minds that you always win in this situation, and then to lose, that's good. That's good. I don't know if that'll have any impact on them or not, but it's got to hurt a little bit, and it might start to change the way you play. Florida, especially with being so aggressive on the PK there, teams do start to back off, I find, against the Oilers when the Oilers punish their aggression by breakout plays. And the Oilers had, like, Bouchard had a breakaway chance in overtime, almost scored. Kapanen had a breakaway chance in overtime, almost scored. Then there's an American announcer, John Bucci-Gross. He's quite famous in the States.
Oh.
I'm not sure why.
Yeah,
but
I see his name a lot.
Yeah, I don't follow American sports at all. So I'm not that certain of who he is. But anyway, he's a huge name down there. And after the Bouchard breakaway, he put out a post on X which said, "Oilers win seems inevitable." And I thought, oh God, you've jinxed the Oilers now. But he doesn't care. The NHL doesn't care either. But I just thought, oh no, this is bad. But right after that, Draisaitl scored. So, but it did start to seem, with about 7 minutes left in the third period, the Oilers just started to come on.
Mm-hmm.
Kapanen, Bouchard, they were coming, and then came the big goal. All right, final thoughts, Kurt? Anything you'd like to add?
You know what? I want to talk for just a second about Vasily Podkolzin, who I understand tonight his brother flew over special from Europe to see this game. Had to get a special visa, as you can imagine, to come to Canada. And
from Russia.
Yeah, and Podkolzin hasn't seen his brother forever, so apparently his brother was in the stands tonight to see this game. And I thought Podkolzin played like that. Like, you know what, if an important family member of yours showed up, you'd do your damnedest too, right? And on that goal, on the Arvidsson goal, Podkolzin did 3 things. First of all, and it's a little bit lost, and you have to wind back the tape a little bit. He beat the Florida player down to his own end to negate icing on that play.
Yeah, he did. That's right.
That starts off the play. Then he gains the zone, and then he doesn't stop skating. Then he skates straight for the net, and he's the screen that Arvidsson shoots through. So when you think about it, Vasily Podkolzin made critical plays in all three zones to help create that goal. I bet you his brother was proud of that.
So Kane led the Oilers in hits with 9. He did the Zach Hyman
Yeah.
Tonight, +2, 9 hits. That's the Zach Hyman. Podkolzin had 5 hits. 5 hits. So good work by Podkolzin. Who else was on the hit parade? Kapanen, 5. Kapanen is playing out of this. Kapanen is playing out of this world.
Oh yeah.
I never thought it in a million. Like I didn't see it coming into the playoffs. So someone said, "Will Kapanen be a performer?" I thought, no, he's just gives away the puck in the neutral zone. And he doesn't hit that much. Like, what does he do? Man, he's the new, like he's like Janmark, like a young Janmark. Or Janmark in the playoffs last year. Not that Janmark's been bad in the playoffs this year, but man, he is playing great hockey.
Mm-hmm.
He's just playing with a lot of courage. Is what he's doing. Honestly.
Waiver claim.
Yeah, thank you, St. Louis.
Yeah, you can have Broberg and Holloway. We'll take this guy who's might help us win a Stanley Cup. How's that for a take?
Dylan Holloway would be nice, but
I wouldn't knock Dylan Holloway. As you know, I was a big fan of him.
Yeah, you were a big Dylan Holloway fan. Arvidsson, 4 hits.
Yeah.
Or 3. Just wait. 3 hits for Arvidsson, 4 hits for Draisaitl. Yeah, Leon was hitting too.
Yeah,
Janmark 4
I
hits.
thought he had a whale of a game.
And it was even on the hits, 51 each. So the Oilers were determined to stand up to the big bad bullies of the Florida Panthers, but there's no edge in aggression between these two teams. They're both full of big bad players, and I think that's one thing that Florida fans will realize tonight is whatever. I don't know if they felt this last year that Florida had an edge physically, but they're not gonna this year as long as Kane stays healthy. He's a game changer in that regard, and it's huge for the Oilers, and it makes a big difference. He plowed into that big Mikkola dude a few times.
Yeah,
Mikkola who slew foot Connor McDavid at one point. I thought
his hit on Ekblad early in the first period, I thought set the tone. Sweet. Put him right on his pants.
Yeah, and Ekblad doesn't none of them like getting hit, but he seemed particularly not like getting hit. Some players really don't.
I thought they don't expect it. I thought they got under Ekblad's skin a bit tonight. Yeah,
because he's a big tough guy, right? And usually doesn't get hit too much, I bet. But they're not afraid to hit him. They're going to go in there and they're going to hit him. That's the way it's going to be. All righty, Kurt. Next up, what do we got?
Friday
night,
game 2.
Is it Friday or is it 3 games between? Is it Friday?
Game 2 is Friday.
Okay, game.
There's a bit of a stagger in between the games in the series. It's a little bit odd.
Yeah. Okay. Can't be sure. Kurt, thanks for doing the game grades, and thanks for talking tonight.
My pleasure.
And in the meantime, and in between time, and until we meet again, Bruce McCurdy.
Never in doubt.
In the Hall of Our Fathers. I think Bruce had a premonition. It was never in doubt this year.
I think he had a hand in that game tonight.
In the Hall of Our Fathers, having a cold one in celebration with the Hockey Gourds. This has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.